Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the channel, and welcome back to G Studios. We're here again. We're going to do another helmet build. This time, we're going to do another version of a Cyberman helmet. This version that we're going to do was introduced during the Matt Smith era. I believe it was season 7 part 2 was when we had first seen this version of the Cybermen that I created. So we're going to go ahead and get in, and I'm going to go ahead and explain how I completed the helmet, what materials I used, and give you a step-by-step tutorial so that way you can go ahead and make one yourself as well. This is actually one of my favorite Cyberman helmets and version, should I say, of the Cyberman helmet. So I was really excited to go ahead and tackle this. Now, before we get into everything, let's go ahead and take a look at all the materials I used in order to create this. To kick things off, we're going to go ahead and take care of all the little extra pieces that came along with the print that we actually don't want on here. I used 2 different printers, so some of the pieces look really good, and some of the pieces unfortunately have a lot of little scraggly bits that we need to go ahead and clean up. So that's what I'm taking care of here. Now, a big thing here to remember, especially when you're gluing all the components together and soldering all the components together, you want to go ahead and sand the actual points where you're going to go ahead and be gluing. That way the glue has something to actually stick to better. You don't just want to do a smooth surface or a rough surface to a rough surface. You want to go ahead and make sure that you sand that down, whether it be with 80 or 120 grit sandpaper, and then go ahead and apply the glue. For this specific helmet, I'm using E6000 to glue all the pieces together, and then I'm going on the inside and I'm actually soldering the rest of the pieces together, so that way it not only has the connection from the glue, but the connection from the soldering as well. And next, we're going to fill in all the cracks and crevices, of course, with that Bondo, and then we're going to get right into the mouse sanding portion of it, taking down those layer lines and taking down that layer of Bondo that I have now put on there. I'm using 120 grit sandpaper to really get in there and break these layers down. And of course, I'm going over everything to make sure that we not only get rid of the Bondo, but also get rid of those layer lines as well. In my last video, I went ahead and I did a full breakdown and explanation when it came to the grits of sandpaper. So I won't go ahead and go into a full blown, spiel about it this time, but I will go ahead and explain it very quickly. You want to start out anywhere between 60 to 80 to begin with getting rid of the printer lines and going in and breaking down the grooves. Then you want to start with 120, 150, and 180, gradually working your way up, and then you're going to do a dry sand of 220, and then a wet sand of 220, and then a wet sand of 400. 400 is the max that I go up to because most of my helmets don't need to be really, really, really smooth, but I do want to get them smooth, especially when I'm laying on the different layers of paint. Next, after everything's been completely sanded, I go ahead and I do 2 heavy coats of the filler and primer. And then I also, in the previous video that I did, I went ahead and I did a acetone and Bondo wash on all the pieces, and I did the exact same thing on this helmet as well. I'm really happy with all of the lines that it was able to fill in because of this method, so I definitely think I'm going to continue to utilize this method, but I really did it over the biggest parts that needed it, or that I felt were showing too much of the layer lines, that I just wanted to make sure that once I had sanded them and gotten to the final product, you didn't see them anymore. And this is what the face piece looked like after I had sanded it down with 120 grit sandpaper. I started working on 150 on it, and as well the other components and the other pieces of it as well. I used the mouse sander here as well with 120 grit sandpaper. Then I started going over it with 150 and 180. Now, just like the last video, I did the Bondo and acetone wash on this as well. I liked how it turned out, and I really think that it got some of those smaller grooves and cracks filled in, and it allowed for a much smoother result at the end as well. And here you can see I started doing a dry sand of the 220 because now we're going to be going into our wet sanding, which is going to allow us to obviously go ahead and make that helmet super smooth. And here she is in all her glory, the Cyberman helmet with the antenna. Now we are using the same gloss black that I used for the previous Cyberman helmet, and we're going to give some nice even coats all over the helmet before we go ahead and lay on that layer of silver, that metallic silver, that Rust-Oleum that we're going to put on there. And that, after I did the wet sanding, all I had to do was apply those final coats of the black paint and then the silver paint, and I was done. And now, here's our finished result.
Upgrade in progress.
And here we are, ladies and gentlemen. Here is the finished Cyberman helmet. What do you guys think? If you want to take a look fully, this is what the bottom looks like. I used basically an extra piece of pipe that I had left over to create this kind of hole down here so that I could actually display it. Wrapped it in foam, and then I took some tubing that I had left over as well, put a piece of foam in the bottom underneath the actual helmet itself. So this rests on top of here, this pipe. This is held, this pipe up here, and then piece of foam for all these straggly bits. I want to add some more wires, maybe some more antennas to give it more of a broken down effect. But this is it. This is the finished helmet. I am super happy and super pumped as to how this turned out. Now the handles version is actually just the face piece itself. I messed up on this one, so I decided to use this as scrap and test it. And I decided to go ahead and kind of go all wonky on it to go ahead and actually make the handles version. So this piece, kind of similar to an Iron Man helmet maybe. The blue LED comes from one of these tiny little balloon LED lights, and basically you just twist and the light will come on. This one's specifically green for another project I'm working on, but I put a blue one in the back of this, and that's how that lights up. And then I obviously added the face pieces, or the eye guards and the eye mouth, and that gave me my handle. If you want to go ahead and check out any HD pictures of anything that I've created, including this Cyberman helmet and the one before that, they're all on my Instagram at gstudios_art. Thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, I would greatly appreciate it if you hit that subscribe button. If you have any questions or would like to discuss things further with me, you could always leave a comment, or you could hit me up on my Insta at gstudios_art. Thanks for watching. Till next time.